copies?
I think there's enough for each one, including this.
This is mine? Yeah.
Got one more?
Got one more there?
There's a few.
There you go. Oh, what a guy, huh? All right,
Oh, wait a minute, okay. I don't know if that's a.
Well, here, I'll go to the
Here you
copy
go.
machine. I don't know what this one is.
I don't know, Jack, this
Yeah,
is, you handed that out.
Give us
okay,
this.
good.
You can hold on to that. Yeah, set up my,
Well,
thing here.
just make it
Oh,
up.
me, I'm sitting here now.
That's all right. So look okay, Brett? The numbers,
Well, the only, I pointed out to Jim earlier today, the only difference between phase and mine were the three revenue items that you guys, talked about.
Yeah.
But other than that, if we adopt those three, then mine and his are the exact same, number wise.
I picked up what we did last night in here. Okay, so that's where it stands right now. We were going to bring in 60 million, now we're down to 59 million. Hey, everybody got one? Jessica? Yeah.
Do you have one, Jess?
I just stole it from
Yeah,
you.
let's see.
Okay. First thing I did, I tried to talk to Howard. Wait, oh, is it his name? Howard at the school board. Unfortunately, his mother-in-law passed away, so Howard's out 3 days with the funeral, which, you know, it is what it is. And so guys, if the mother-in-law passed away, they'd be dancing anyway. But anyway, so what we're looking at, just as an aside here, okay, we've got that 550,000 for capital. And I was trying to get a hold of Howard to find out if they could do that, upgrade on the, internet for 300. But since he's not gonna be in, he's not coming in, I guess, till next Monday. So, I would say if that were the case, we could leave the 300 capital and take the 250 and either put it back into education or raise the revenue, just leave the 250 out, and that'll give us less money we have to cover. We have some revenue, and with talking with Jim, I think we can raise some of that revenue we got up on top, some of the items there. Jim, you wanna go through what the assessor told you?
Yeah, we've been talking, I can't mention names or accounts or anything, but we've been talking over the last couple days about some adjustments that need to be made. Turning a 20-minute conversation into 30 seconds, it'll give you an additional $200,000 of revenue.
Just by increasing the grand list?
No,
Or-
rather, hang on for a second.
Okay.
Let's see. I'd rather see it put into, an account that I have called incremental taxes. This way it just sticks out like a sore thumb. Right now it says 350,000, I'd be raising it to 550. If you're looking at your sheet, Jack, it would be under the one,
Would it be just investment income?
no, it'd be under taxpayer, under taxpayers.
Taxpayers?
Yeah, so you
So it's gonna be an increase to the grand,
increase of $200,000 there.
okay?
So that's the 47.
Okay, I'm sorry, but what's the change?
in the taxpayer.
That number already changed from yesterday?
Yeah,
Which, and where are you in the budget?
Okay, are you on, you're on Excel, right?
Yeah,
Other tax revenues. Everybody else has just Jack's
Yeah.
recap sheet.
there's another line for other tax that's added into this
And
line.
it's 1,331,000. This would bring it to 1,531,000. And that has to do with a lot of different calculations. The assessor and I spent a few hours today going through everything. And again, I wish I could tell you more, but I can't.
so you're saying you'd like to see, oh, we can, and you believe, increase
Where
incremental.
it's
revenue.
incremental taxes,
Yeah,
it says 350 now,
Yeah.
raise that to 550.
Where's that?
and you feel
Embedded
confident in
in the
that?
In your
Taxpayer.
sheet, so it would just be 200,000 at the
Oh, okay,
top.
got it.
But I'm gonna continue on that, that's one item.
But
Okay.
Okay.
you feel confident in that?
Extremely. Yeah, it's probably about 15 different calculations that go in there, from MSRPs, manufacturer's suggested retail price, to the NADS, National Auto Dealers numbers, to some adjustments that have to be made in personal property.
Okay, for discussion purposes, I'll make that motion to increase it from 350,000 to 550,000 in the line item called incremental tax collections.
You don't see it, it's in the
It's
taxpayer
gonna be
line
in
item.
that one, you're just gonna add 200,000 to
In
that.
his details,
Okay.
there's an account.
Okay.
Okay, have,
Your account,
Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, okay.
your account, cause I have here is 1,331,096.
right, that would come 1,531,096.
Okay. It's 200,000, okay.
In that same grouping, you wanna, I don't know if you wanna finish voting on that?
Yeah, I think we better. Does anybody have any further discussion on this? Any questions for Jim? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
I mean, if you wanna go into executive session, I can tell you about it, but some of it's not, it's pending litigation.
I think if you're confident in it as our finance director, I think I'm taking your word on it.
And then there's incremental tax collections
Incremental tax collections.
to 550.
On his sheets, he refers to as total other tax revenues.
Right, but then I have a further breakdown on
Yeah,
that,
okay.
which has 6 or 7 different items on
Okay.
it. In that same grouping, you're finished voting on that one?
Yeah.
Okay, in that same grouping, the first item is supplemental motor vehicles. The state changed around the way you can handle supplemental motor vehicles, and we could, start adding all the supplemental motor vehicles to the grand list on a month-by-month basis, so come July 1, we could send out the bills. And then do the same thing for the next 6 months of the year and send the bills out in January. With the personnel shortage in the assessor's office, the chances of that happening are slim to none. So I told her today to continue, that we'll send out the supplemental motor vehicles in January, just as we have for the last 30+ years. And don't make the change that the state said we could make. And the only thing we would gain from that is cash flow, because the money would be coming in July instead of in January.
That we billed for anyway.
Right. Now, the supplemental motor vehicles I have in there as 400,000. So I went over and talked to Helen today, and the current year's supplemental motor vehicle was 641,525. So 400,000 is definitely too low. 641 is probably a little too high with interest rates going up. And if I was a betting man, I would bet on 600,000. Going down, that's what, about several percent decrease, but I wouldn't look at an increase in it from the current year's actual.
And that's what we had in 24-25 as well.
In 24-25, we got 525.
Yeah, but the adopted budget was 600.
Right.
Yeah.
So, when would the last supplemental for this current year be?
This 641,000.
When would it be?
January of 26.
26, so
It's in the
this
current.
this is all cooked.
It's
In
in
this
the,
budget,
it's in the new budget.
it's in the new budget period,
Right.
there's no
Right.
revision.
This year, we sent out the bills in January, and there were a total of 641,000.
Okay. So this would be again,
200,000, right?
this is another 200,
Yes.
okay, and that would go into the same account?
In your total,
We
with
go
what
back up.
Brett's looking at, it would go into the supplemental motor vehicle line, changing it from 400 to 600.
I'll make that motion to change supplemental motor vehicle line item, from $400,000 to $600,000 on the recommendation of the finance manager.
Second.
Any discussion? I have one question, Jim.
Yep.
That would make, just on, like on your sheet over here, the 1,331,000, okay? We already raised that 200, we're gonna raise that another 200? Is that how we're doing it?
Yep.
Okay, we're good, okay.
And if you look at the totals, I don't know if you have last year on there, last year it was only 781.
Mhm.
That's because we had from a court case that we had to give a credit to a large taxpayer last year of $500,000. It was a one-shot deal, it's done. So you take last year's number of 781, add that 500, gives you 1281. Add the two 100,000s, or two 200,000s, I said, now you're up to 1681 versus 1731. So that just reconciles last year's number to this year.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, those two are in. Okay. Now, I think, and just seeing a lot of what's coming in to me, that investment income, we should more than exceed last year. I think, interest rates may fall, but I don't see the interest rates getting down into the threes at all. And right now, we're still sitting on a good amount of cash. So I would take that up to another 100,000, if you're comfortable with that, or maybe more.
I'd be comfortable with two.
So you would be
Only because after we got the bond sale this month, which didn't come in until the middle of the month, I looked at one account today, I got the bank statement on it, $74,000 of interest in 1 month.
1 month, okay.
And that's one bank account, I have several that I get the accounts on. So, I'm assuming it's 100,000,
It's gotta be more than last year,
$1.2 million would
Yeah, it's
probably
$1.2 million.
go from $1 million to $1.2 million.
Even though I think the 10-year just went into the 3.9, 10-year, which is, you know, what an investment. You could lock up money for 10 years and be guaranteed around 4%. You know, a lot of the people who got a lot of money, they'll take that in a minute. Okay,
I'll make the motion.
make the motion, sure.
To raise investment income from 1 million to 1,000,002.
Second, okay, any discussion on that?
1,000,002?
200.
Anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
I have a question, I don't know if this is a typo or if this was intentional, but in the top line for taxpayers,
is different from the sheet you gave us last night.
That's what I was questioning
The
before.
under 25, 26. Last night we had 48 and change, and now it's 47.
That would be because the budget went down by 500 and some odd thousand. So you don't need to raise as much in taxes. You did the numbers.
I did the
right?
numbers, actually, I pulled it off of the sheet, that's that sheet that went
So
around.
this was incorrect, this 48.
Well, it was
That
correct,
that was
it was
correct
correct, but
yesterday.
then you made
Yesterday.
500 and some odd
This-
thousand
no
dollars
sheet.
worth of cuts last night.
Okay, gotcha.
Oh, I see. I was thinking of the as coming in through the.
We thought like this was the calculation. thing.
Right,
Yeah,
okay,
I
no.
see.
Yeah.
Got it.
It's A minus B equals C, and
Gotcha.
that's the C.
This is not an actual number, this is a plug.
So now we've picked up 600. Okay. So everybody voted on the interest income, which was laying there. And the other one, and sewer fees, that's gotta be where it is. And license and permits, even though that could be a tad light. The 800,000 could be a tad light, but not, you know. That you don't know. So I think we've almost stretched out the revenue.
The only other one, and this is completely a guess. How quickly is Oxford Greens going to, continue with the new phase? I don't know what the phase number is. If they go full bore and start putting in 30, 40 units a year, our building permits are gonna be higher, our WPCA
Oh, God,
hookups.
yeah, we'll hit it.
But that's a complete guess.
Yeah, we hit that, every time they did, the last time they had the major
Well, I
build up.
can give you a little bit of information that I know. But he's building a model building now.
3 or 4.
Well, it's one building that has 3 units in it. That's gonna be ready by July. And, so he's gonna start, and he wants to, from what I understand, he wants to, sell 40 houses a year. And, he's gonna build an additional clubhouse up there. That's but that won't be started for a year from now. It's gonna be a big building, that he's building right next to where the clubhouse is now. So that's what I know so far.
And I can add a little bit to what Victor's saying, talking to the fire marshal. The bridges that they have to put in so that they can have access out to Chestnut Tree Hill Road are prefab bridges, and they're being delivered in the month of August, and they're gonna be installed before the weather turns in the fall.
Mm.
So you can see that they're not wasting time.
No, he's moving along.
Is that land wet?
Hmm?
Is that land wet?
Yeah.
It's wet at the bottom where they're putting the bridges in because of a beaver pond.
Okay.
If you were to take out the beaver pond, you wouldn't even need the bridges. If you look at the old GIS maps, before the beavers took up residency, there was a road going right over it. Now that road is underwater because of the beavers.
The beavers, yeah. So, I mean, the original Oxford Greens, a good part of that, going down Rick Street going south like that. A lot of that was good, really wet before they built it. Okay, anything?
Well, from what Victor's saying, it's $3,500 a unit for the sewer fee. So even if we don't hit the building fees, if you put 30 units in there, that's another $100,000 in WPCA hookup fees. So you could raise the licenses and permits from 800 to 900.
Okay. Well, I'll make that motion just to, somebody second it so we can discuss this, okay? I'm just wondering, were they considered in our 800?
No.
We're thinking about that, we just said that that's gonna be just a normal year.
I only had, for WPCA hookup fees, I had $100,000 in there, which is a normal year.
So which line item are we talking about?
WPCA hookup fees under licenses and permits.
Okay. So you were saying raise it from 100 to 200?
Right. And again, just see, it's a guess based on what's gonna happen up at Oxford Greens.
But doubling it, you think?
That would be 30, about 30 units.
And they start to collect those when they're sold or when they're finally built? I mean, like, so he finishes 30 units, but only 10 get moved in.
Okay.
I mean,
No, when they start construction,
When they start
like Victor had just talked about, the models being put up.
Right.
Just bear with me for a second. Sorry, I gotta find this.
Well, the fees are usually paid up front.
that's what I was curious
We
about.
always pay, yeah, in God we trust, but we don't trust anybody else.
But I mean, if the demo units are going up and they'll be done by July 1st, then you would assume over the course of the year.
Yeah.
Have they even started to build them yet? Those units?
Yes.
He built the models.
Oh, he did.
Well, it's not totally complete, but it's a structure.
Yeah.
It's up, so he intends to start showing it probably by July.
Okay.
The models eventually get sold, right? The models are like livable at the end, they get
At the
sold?
end.
Yeah, they don't-
So they will have sewer too then, probably?
Yeah. Oh,
Okay.
reason I was looking, on February 3rd, I made a deposit into the bank of $22,400 for sewer hookup fees for those buildings. Not just for the three, there's, 3 buildings, so it'll be a total of 9 units. So, the money, and so it answers your question, does it come in upfront? I don't remember who asked the question. Everything comes in upfront.
So as soon as they break ground, or even beforehand, as soon as they apply for the permit, essentially?
I'm not sure the exact.
I'm just saying,
date.
because I mean, you could break ground pretty easily, you know, and to start constructing 30 units or 40 units really simply.
You're not gonna break ground until you know you have all the permits in place. You wouldn't wanna,
Okay,
you
so-
wouldn't wanna invest a couple $1 million and find out,
Yeah.
oh, I can't get a permit for this.
And they build as they sell them, right? Like they don't start, or they,
That's what I don't know. That's why I was saying it's, that Oxford Greens has a real good track record, just like Meadowbrook did. And they sell slow and steady, but they keep going and keep
I
going.
think they put the models up first, and then they build, like if someone says, okay, I want that model, you know,
Right, and then
right,
They started.
yeah.
we'll have it for you in December.
But these buildings are gonna have 3 units.
The three, just like the ones that are
Right.
over there by,
No, I know.
by the,
It's not just one.
But they'll have people coming and looking at those models and deciding which one they want,
oh,
and
by the
then they'll
fifth,
start
the
building.
fifth hole, right? The three in the unit, I think it's about the fifth hole.
No, it'd be closer to, let's see, 7 has the old units on, it'd be closer around the 8th hole.
Eighth hole, yep, okay. All right, so the motion is, we're taking to $100,000, the permit, the WPCA permit from 100,000 to 200,000, which will wind up, again, 900. Now does that get placed in sewer user fees, or does that get placed in
No, that gets placed in licenses and permits,
licenses and permits? Okay,
cause that's a permit to build.
okay, just a second,
I did.
okay. Any discussion on that at all?
The only thing I would say is, I mean, if you're confident in the 200, otherwise, you know, maybe backing it down to 150. But if you're confident in the 100 extra thousand, then okay, fine. I just don't know what.
Usually, some of these accounts were always under too much, and they've always came through it with a lot more, they always had a lot more. So, we've always been too conservative on these accounts. Why, you know,
My philosophy through my whole career has been to underestimate revenues, because like with your company, T-Mobile, if they were sitting around and said revenue's down by 3% or something, what are you gonna do? And you might say, well, let's give a discount and we'll get more customers in. We can't do that. We can't bring in revenue after the beginning of the year, so I always try and be conservative on it.
So, we've picked up, what, 700,000?
Yeah, well, we gotta
Six,
vote
seven,
on
eight.
it.
You can vote on this one, okay, I'm sorry. All in favor? Opposed?
Yeah, we picked up $700,000.
$700,000. Okay, 700,000, that's, it's not even half a mil, is it? Close to it.
It's about a half.
That's about a half a mil. So that would take half a mil, would take us down there to 19.
Well, it depends on.
To
those
19
three-
something, yeah.
Well, right now in my sheet, 1998. But there's, 3 items that, I don't know
I have 20.13.
okay.
Oh, you're talking
But
the
those
three we
three,
talked
those
about
3
today.
other items,
Bring them up to Jack. 'Cause
so the 3 items that I noticed there were difference between mine and Jim's, sheets, was the admin police private duty, auto police private duty, and land options contract. You guys, or the revenue was increased for admin police private duty from 30 to 50, police private duty from 50 to 75, and it looks like the land options contract of $400,000 was removed.
That was what we did Saturday.
Saturday, yeah.
So, I mean, if you guys are confident in that, then I'll make that motion, but if that's, you know, I
I
don't
can,
know anything about it.
We're certainly not throwing numbers around.
I can
Okay.
speak to it if you want.
Sure.
First off, the land options were in there, but if you recall when, one of the departments was in here, we were talking about the available land left to sell. There's only one lot which is undesirable left to sell, so we're not gonna make, he might have some option contracts that I'll get the cash on next year, but I don't know. I know there's no more contracts to be signed.
Okay. And then the, police, admin police private duty and auto police private duty?
It's been going crazy, with the, power company doing, tree work, with Eversource repowering parts of town, like in your neighborhood, they were down there for a half a year.
Yeah.
Now the high tension lines that are going in with Powers Construction and Supreme, it's, the cop, all of our cops are out every day if they wanna work.
If they wanna work, and I was talking to this state trooper, he's working 7 days a week, and a lot of overtime. So they're making it while they can.
So these are revenue.
Revenues, yeah.
These are revenues.
That's what we
and
make
it's-
over and above.
It's, the admin fees are pretty much what I charge for myself and my staff for doing the billing, sending it out, the loss of cash flow, because we have to pay the payrolls before we get the cash in. And the, autos is, I'm billing them $16.75 an hour, for using the auto, because that's what the rental rate, the federal rental rate is for, police cruisers. So if somebody has a 10-hour construction day, they don't do 10s, but just so the math, I'm gonna bill them $167 for using the vehicle.
So if we do those 3, then my mill rate matches yours, 20.13.
Good, so we don't have a problem with formulas.
No. Because we're picking up $45,000 in revenue between 2 items, but we're losing the 400 from the land that we're saying we're not selling,
It's a dream.
or it's available to sell.
Yeah. At one time, I was told each lot was gonna be sold for over $1 million too. Go look at those lots.
Well, if you're confident in those numbers, then, I'll make the motion. It's in our budget, under other revenue. And I'll make all 3 line items in one motion.
Do you have a page number on that?
It's not on here.
Oh, it's not on here.
I
It's
don't
in a
know.
total line item.
Okay.
In the detailed budget, it's under the other revenue category.
It's not,
It's not in our packet.
Okay.
not in.
So
On the sheet Jack gave out, it'd be under other revenue,
Other income?
other income, yeah.
So, The line item itself is, admin, police, private duty, to increase that from $30,000 to $50,000. The second,
Hold on, sorry,
Yeah.
increase from,
30,000 to 50,000.
okay,
The second item is auto police private duty. Increase that from 50,000 to 75,000.
What was it again?
50,000 to 75,000.
So pick up 25.
Yep, and then, the land options contract to, reduce, that from $400,000 down to 0. That's my motion.
second,
Any discussion? Anybody? All in favor? That's, we already did that.
Okay. Yep, and as a follow-up, just so everybody knows, I'll follow up tomorrow to look at the option contracts and see if there's anything that's gonna be coming in between now and June. And then also things that might be coming in between July and June of next year.
So Jim, what will other income be now?
4753,250. Oh, Jack's got it all. It's in. It's in different breakdowns here.
Here,
'cause he's-
use this, Jim. Use this one.
What did it increase in?
What was that?
What was the net increase there?
No, it's a net decrease.
Oh, that's a net, what is the net?
400 minus 45, so
255.
355.
255.
355. Decrease.
Decrease. Income.
what line?
It'd be 263,956.
Okay, that's already on.
That's what we have.
Yeah, because Jack and I put those numbers in the other day.
Okay.
What happened, I sent Brett
Brett
my
did.
file and he was comparing it to mine and said, we never voted on those 3 items.
No.
Okay, so
We-
what's the
we-
475?
Should have been, and I forgot to make a motion.
So what's that? What's the 47532?
That was if you added the power plant together. Underneath, Jack has the power plant separate.
Oh, so that's,
Yeah.
If you added those two together, it would come to the 4.7.
okay.
So that changed our mill rate from what we said originally, which was 1998, up to 20.13.
Including the roads.
Including the roads, correct.
So Jack's sheet now should be 20.13.
Right.
So far.
So far. Okay, now, on the capital, on the expense side, capital projects, okay? We got 550,000 in there. Most of that was to be the upgrades for all the internet, what have you, for school board. Okay, I tried to get a hold of Howard today, so he won't be available till Monday, for the death in the family. So, this is what I was thinking. If they somehow, cause somebody told me one time that money was gonna be 300,000 and not 500, okay? If that becomes 300, we could leave the 300 in capital, but then we got the 250,000 to move around. Or, if it doesn't become 300, then we got 550,000 to do something with. Cause we're not gonna spend 550,000 on that upgrade.
There's also the thing that I emailed around today that shows those other potential savings if we decide to go down that route. So,
Look, bring them up,
well, there's a bunch of it.
Yeah,
There's a lot of them.
okay.
So I just went
didn't
through,
get your attachment, or I couldn't open it.
okay. No, it's a lot of individual line items where I looked at it and I just said, okay, we could remove $400 here, $50 here, $200 here, and the net savings.
What we weren't gonna do.
Well, yeah, but the
Right.
net savings
I'm not
was
gonna go to
another
$10.
$264,000.
264?
Yeah, but that's also taking a couple positions and taking it from full-time to part-time, or reducing part-time to lesser hours.
We gotta, here, I hear you, and I agree with you 100%, by the way, 100%. But I don't wanna put something in the budget when we don't have a chance of enforcing it. If we have a chance to enforce it, we'll come right back and do it, okay? But if, this happened to us before, where we eliminated positions, and guess what, they were never eliminated. And Sue can tell you that, Paula can tell you that. But I agree with you 100%.
If
So
we,
can we just hold off on that?
do you have it broken out, if we set aside the position things and just the non-position, how much that would be? Like the other places you dug under the seat cushions?
Let's see.
Glad it's you and not me.
So just quickly adding it up would probably take my number down by about $80,000 or $90,000. So you'd be looking, instead of 264, 175. That's just a guesstimate without doing the math. But I mean, there's literally, I've got probably 50 line items here. Right, wrong, or indifferent, because I mean, if we're asking people to tighten their belts because there's going to be a tax increase, and somebody's asking for extra money in their budget for advertising, let's just pretend. Well, don't do as much advertising, or don't use as many office supplies, or use those dollars more effectively, So I went through it like that and said, okay, if it were my household, would it be nice to have a little bit extra, some more staples? Sure, but be careful with the staples that you have. I'm just making that up. But so that's how I looked at each one of these line items, and maybe some of it is legit, maybe some of it's not. For example, the first item were the contracted services for labor for ambulance. I said it's just first item. We had reduced the 175 ask down to 135. I was saying take another 15 off of that and make it 120. I get the fact that they want to pay a couple people, but we had increased that line item from 23, 24 by close to $100,000, because we were going to be paying the ambulance folks to stay around as an incentive. But he said they don't need to do that. So even at the whatever the number is, even at the number that we give them, they're still up significantly.
The ambulance, yeah.
I mean,
And we did take out,
well, that's what I'm
we took
saying.
out the 40, and that's a unique situation, okay? Basically, what the town picks up is what they don't earn, So I don't mind, if you guys have a few cuts there, I don't mind that, because let them, why should we lay it all out and say, here, we'll give you all this money?
Well, so like as an example, if you were to take that another 15,000 out of contracted services labor, that their adopted budget, their adopted budget last year was 279,665. Their adopted budget, their proposed budget this year would be 295,500. So it's a 5.7% increase. That seems fair, but last year's adopted budget was almost $90,000 higher than the year before
Yeah,
because we put in money for them. So
because we couldn't get, at that time, we couldn't get volunteers. Now we seem to be set with volunteers.
well,
but
he
you never
was saying
know.
that they don't need to pay them. So the
Yeah.
$90,000 that we added in there last year to help, it wasn't to get volunteers, it was to retain them. It wasn't to get anybody. So now we're at basically the 90 from last year plus an additional 15. So we're like $100,000 over the prior year. Is that, like, do we really think that's the right number? So I'm saying, you know, if you reduce that contracted services item from 135 to 120, you're picking up another $15,000 there. So that's what I did. I went through every line item and I said, okay, where can we get some additional savings? And that's, other than the wages for those jobs, that's where I came up with my 264, 263. Under ambulance. So that's just, I didn't make any motion, but that was, the type of thing that I did.
So it's page 5.
That's on page 4.
It starts on
Oh,
4,
four.
that's what
Starts on
confuses me, it
four.
starts on
Okay.
4, it goes up to 5.
So it was the contracted services labor, line item.
So I'll make a motion to bring the 135 down to 120 for discussion.
I'll second that.
So the contracted service there, the 135, represents,
According to him, his pay, and he wanted to hire 2 other people.
Yeah.
From what I can recall.
Yeah. Let me see if I have it.
I
That was the
think one was
broken
an
line.
assistant, the other was a trainer.
Okay.
that's the two, he had them under 74,000 each, I think,
72 and a half.
yeah. That's the two guys in there. See what this is the unique one, because what we're doing, we're setting a target for them to say, here, we'll cover this much, right? So they could coast it, they have, you know, on their budget, and still come back to us for the rest of the money, right? There's no pressure, we're taking the pressure off, we gave them the bullseye, here. I don't have a problem with doing that.
Well, I mean, just as an example, in 23, 24, their budget was the adopted budget was 176.5. Last year, we went up to 279.6, $103,000 increase. And then this year, their request was basically $400,000.
Did we see their whole entire budget anywhere, proposed and what it costs to operate?
Oh.
Combined.
In the audit,
I got their audit, if you, I have to dig it
Well,
out, but,
wouldn't you wanna look at what their total actual cost was to?
okay, I did, actually, they went up as a surplus last year, with their audit, but their audit ends in April, I think, or something. Yeah.
So, taking that into account, knowing that they support a good portion of it, why are we giving them all this?
Exactly, and they did a lot, they received a lot more money for training. They had enough money in training to buy a new ambulance. The town was buying their ambulances before, but that part of their program's gone, I guess. I don't know what's happened to it, but it's gone.
Madeline was finding that they were getting people, they were offering to train people, I'm gonna make up hypothetical numbers for, say, $3,000. But the same cost that QU or Post University was $10,000. So they were poaching a lot of people from the universities for a while because it was so much cheaper.
I
So let's
mean-
take that, let's take that, just that one thing, right now. Let's
So-
take contract services down.
So just, it's just so,
Sure.
so if we, so if we did lower it to 120, compared to, not last year, because we increased it, but from the year before, from the 176.5, if we did do this, it'd bring it to 295.5. In 2 years, the budget increased 67%.
Yeah, because they're coming back to us. They're coming back to us to support them, okay? They were self-supporting for quite a while. Like I said, they bought their own ambulance. We used to spend $200,000 for an ambulance every year. Right? I agree, I actually,
So,
down to 120 to me isn't even enough.
so why is it by line item? Like, we're giving them, it's all spread out by line item, but just cut the whole total and let them figure out where they need the money.
You just
Basically-
were like we do with the Board of Ed.
Kind of makes
Yeah.
more sense if they have their own budget
Yeah.
going with their
Well,
own
'cause-
funds.
Well,
Or
for us,
divide
it's,
that
for us, it's, when we put the budget together, we gotta, say, where's the cut and salary cut here, and so that's
But,
kinda let's stick out.
but we don't see what their spend is, right? So he knew, it's like, well, for
But you-
electricity, this is the total, but they have, this is what the town's paying. Well, what do they pay? Combine it so we can look at ambulance, town supports this, this is the total spend for the ambulance. It's very difficult to make a decision when you're looking at numbers and, you know, you
It
can go
is,
through
because
it.
we're picking up a
We're not
lot.
he's not comparing what they actually.
How
put
do you
on their
fund them,
side.
Jim?
Whatever's in the, to pay the individual bills that they sign and send over to us. And then for the contract services labor, whatever's approved by the Board of Finance on a town meeting or referendum, we divide by 12 and send them a monthly check.
I mean, if they can squirrel money away to buy an ambulance.
That ain't throwing it away, but that's
No,
saving the
but
town,
there's-
saving the town a lot of money.
Yeah. Are they? They're taking the money from us and they're keeping their money.
And this
So
go-
it's the same, it works
Oh,
both
yeah,
ways.
walk back a few years, they were,
I
yeah.
understand that, but it's still, the money's in their pocket or where,
I'm
Yeah.
open to rescinding my motion if you all feel like you wanna do a bigger cut than the 15,000 to bring it down to 120. But I just said 15, cause I started trying to
Anything
figure out,
you did by-
I
the
tried,
line
to-
item.
yeah, because I don't know how legit even the 120 is,
right.
you
Well,
know?
if it's there, he's gonna send him a check every month and he's gonna pay it,
Yeah,
okay? So that's what they're gonna get. So. If you wanna take that back and just go up again.
It was Sue's motion, you.
I had made the motion.
And I seconded it. So
Yeah.
we're gonna take it back, right?
Okay, I'll rescind my motion,
Okay.
but I'm open to
No,
suggestions.
Well, I would say, if we're gonna hit it, go down to 110, that'll hit it.
So go, so
25,000.
25 instead of
Yes.
15. And your rationale for going
Well,
to 110 instead of
that's-
100?
Or even if you wanna go.
No, just
100,
asking, yeah.
He's gonna have to send him a check every month, okay? So that's what we're gonna do, is we're gonna decide what their monthly check is. It's the two guys that were, they were in here for 74, was 72,000 each?
72.5.
72.5 each, okay? Now, from 72, when he sends them a check, they're gonna have to figure they're down to 50 each, if we made it 100.
No, I think that is 3 people in that line. I think it's the director and 2.
The directors,
The director's 104 and that line was gonna be 3 people.
you sure?
I had 2 full-time directors / chief.
You're right, because there's an assistant director and a trainer
Yes.
Yeah, and
and the director.
So there must be getting paid out of their own budget
Oh, yeah.
with
Yeah.
money.
That's why I just send them a check to supplement, I don't pay their payroll.
Don't
Yeah.
forget, they bill out every time they go out, they bill out, supposedly, they get paid. They're gonna have trouble, if they tighten up Medicare, they're gonna have troubles, they're gonna have trouble getting paid. A lot of troubles getting paid. And by law, the town has to produce an ambulance service, by law.
I just don't understand how I mean, last year, they came in and asked us, they said, we need money to retain folks. And we went from 176.5 to 279 essentially. I know there are other line items in there. But even if we bring it down to $100,000, you're at 275. So basically, almost $100,000 more than 2 years ago. In all those prior years, and I haven't been on the Board of Finance, they operated on those funds all those prior years. So now they're getting an additional $100,000 from us in 2 years' time.
They had some tough years back when, okay? And the ambulances they were driving, some of those years weren't exactly Bentleys, put it that way. So, here's the thing. Right now, they have volunteers. That can change in a minute. That
Then
can
we
change
deal
in
with
a
it when
minute.
it changes.
Yeah, if it changes, our contingency hits at the time, because we have to provide the services.
Well, I'm making a motion the motion that I rescinded, was what, it was 135. So I'm gonna make my motion to
No.
change the $135,000 down to $100,000.
It was 120, I think, wasn't it?
Was it 120?
Yeah, so.
Well,
I'll-
my original motion was 135 to 120,
Oh, yeah,
Right.
right,
but I'm taking 135 down to 100.
yeah, and I'm gonna second that.
Okay, any further discussion? Anybody? All in favor?
Keep going, but put tax cut.
Well, isn't that the goal, to try to keep people's taxes relatively low? Not at the expense of town services, though.
Okay.
I just,
No, I know.
you know, my heart is in with the ambulance and the fire.
Yeah,
So I keep my mouth shut.
yeah. And we're not taking anything away from them from that perspective, but I still can't comprehend how they're able, this is just me without knowing the facts. They were able to buy an ambulance on their own, even with a budget that was less than $100,000 all those prior years. They didn't just be able to afford an ambulance last year when we gave them the $100,000.
No, they
So
got that
they've
from
been-
that was all the training money, that's how they got the.
Yeah, so
training money.
they made enough money over the preceding years to be able to buy an ambulance with cash. So they're still getting $100,000 more than they did last, or 2 years ago.
Considering most associations do buy their own ambulances.
Yeah.
So,
It depends on the call volume. It used to be 800, now with, I guess, with Medicare cuts, my guess would be 1,000 calls. If you are over 1,000 pay calls, and that's transports, you can make money. If you're under 1,000 calls, then you have to be subsidized.
some of the calls we don't get paid, because to get some out of bed or get.
Right, and it's also gotta be a transport. They
It's
have a
gotta
lot
be
of,
transport, yeah.
they have a lot of dispatchers that they don't transport.
What else you got, Brett?
Well, there's a lot. I mean, I don't know if we want to go through all these line items. I mean, there's a lot.
Oh, what's another big one?
Yeah, pick another big one.
Let's see here. Well, I think, okay, so one of them was, under the Board of Finance, was the audit. We put in for $50,000,
Yep,
and, the department request was for $40,000.
that's, it used to be.
So,
So the one we're coming, that audit quote is 50.
so is that legit,
That's,
50?
there is,
Check out the numbers.
Okay, okay.
and I'll tell you right now, it's tough to get anybody to do an audit these days. A lot of companies don't do them anymore.
Okay.
So you're out there on your hands and knees begging for them.
Okay. What about Conservation Commission, Legal Services, Land Use? We proposed 8,000. Can we go down to 4?
What page is it on, anybody?
Right here, 13.
What was the line, Brett?
Legal Services, Land Use?
Mhm.
We proposed 8,000. I'm asking, can we go down to 4,000? Like, I don't know what is involved there.
I'd recommend that you don't cut that
Yeah,
down.
yeah, you know what? It is involved because they've got an ongoing thing there,
Okay,
okay? That's, you know where it is.
okay,
There's another new one.
There's
coming
another
up,
new
so-
one. Yeah.
okay.
I saw that in your list, telephone showed up in a bunch of places. Were you
Yeah.
proposing like a revamp of telephone?
We have to look at telephone total. I mean, no, it wasn't, it was just like the dog warden, as an example, has $4,000 for telephone, I'm saying reduce it to 3,000. Like, what's the dog warden's telephone?
That's the whole internet package, that's Wi-Fi for her in that separate building, and telephone.
But $4,000
About 300 a month, yeah. Three and change a month,
for internet and,
phone. Well, I can tell you her phone, cause I just billed her.
but don't we get it, so don't, as a municipality, if we're doing it through, are we doing it through Xfinity? I'm sure we must be doing some type of commercial account, and or don't we get a package deal for municipality, the different departments that we have? Like, why has everybody got their own Xfinity account?
I'd be more than happy to work with you on it.
Yeah. Well, I don't know, I'm just,
It's your expertise, I mean, I.
well, not
see-
Xfinity, the mobile
No,
phone
I-
piece of it, yeah, but it's just, it's confusing to me why certain items are just repeated over and over and over again in every department. And maybe you're just spreading the money out,
Well,
but
that's what I was just,
I just think we have to get a tighter control on the individuality of different departments doing their own things. Not that they're doing anything
Maybe,
wrong,
maybe.
but
maybe-
understand it.
Maybe we changed our accounting a little bit. To just generalize, like the telephone and the computer maintenance, stick them all in one,
Administrative.
so we could see it, so it could shock us. And we won't give them out to the departments. We could do it that way too.
It's, you
Because
need to
it's gotta
understand the
change.
totality of it.
It's gotta change. It's gotta change.
I'm looking at the bill that I paid today, it was $3,800. Town hall is $900, WPCA 44, senior center 110, fire department and public works 47.
Is this internet you're talking?
This is, no, actual telephone.
So,
Ambulance 348, fire marshal 49, and emergency communications, where we have to have the dedicated lines for the repeater system.
Yeah.
2,393.20. A lot of it's specialized equipment that we have to have for the 911.
Yeah, that I understand, but I mean auditing what these telephone systems, this computer maintenance, the mobile phone system, you know, it just seems like it's just going on and on and on. Not that anybody did anything wrong,
No,
it's just,
that's why I said I'd be happy to have your help.
do you allocate the bill?
Yes,
So you pay it and then you allocate it to each department?
Right,
That's
and
where
that's-
these numbers come from?
that's exactly what I
And
did
then they
today.
come up with a budget based upon what you
Right.
posted to their account?
So for the,
So it kinda is then done. He has it all.
I guess my point being would be that, is each department being, like, if we, example, Xfinity, you know, if we're doing internet with them, are we looking at a department basis, individual, or are we approaching Xfinity, say, hey, the town needs 100 connections? What are you gonna do for us?
It's all individual, as I have time, my project right now is garbage, trying to put it all together, that's
Yeah.
what's out to bid. Instead of each person calling up and getting their own dumpsters, so,
Yeah, but
You need
that's
an
where,
operations manager.
exactly, or purchasing
You
manager or
need an
something,
operations manager,
yeah.
cause you're,
I'd be,
again,
I'd be
you're doing
bored.
No, but that's the
I'm
point.
ADD, so it gives me a chance to do different things.
Well, you can work very closely with the operations manager, because you have to make sure everything's accounted
I
for
know.
properly.
Central
Somebody needs-
purchasing office.
Somebody needs to manage those contracts.
Well, a
for
lot of
you.
times I use the word I, but it's, actually the team that's doing everything, it's not me.
Yeah.
Garbage and telephone and.
but yeah, setting
Computer.
aside like the specialized emergency, but just like the like dog warden, library, seniors, like the regular ones, I think that probably if it's combined, that there's.
Yeah, that's why I say if Brett can
Alright,
spend an
well,
afternoon over, we go through the bills and,
Who could pay him?
You could pay.
I could pay him.
You're the good idea.
Listen,
guy. See what you get.
if I can save a certain amount of money, I'll take a portion of the savings,
Oh,
okay?
credit, you use a credit card.
Well, I can tell you,
1% of $10 isn't a lot of money.
No.
Xfinity today sent me a thing, and wanted me to rate them from 0 to 10. So I sent them a big old fat 0. So then I came back, wanted to know why. Then I let them have it, because I'm paying for a television, I haven't used it in 3 months because the box won't work. And I called them up, nobody fixes it. So I'm ready to go to, the only other one is, what's it?
Don't go to Frontier.
No, but all you have to do is threaten them that you're gonna leave and they'll negotiate with you.
Oh, yeah.
So,
For a 6 or a 12-month period, they'll lower your rate.
hey,
So you
that's-
just gotta mark your calendar.
That's what I would do, I'd set a calendar.
Cause
reminder.
then
Yeah.
you're.
Every year
bill
threaten
comes and
them.
it's like,
The ones that really do that
Then
on
you
is
gotta call
Sirius
me.
Radio.
You just gotta
Yes.
call
you gotta
me
keep
annually.
calling.
They'll
Sirius
charge you-
Radio?
They'll charge you $30 a month, but if you call them up, they'll cut it down to $9.
that's what I'm paying, exactly.
For what?
$9 a month?
Sirius Radio.
Serious.
I thought it's at 5.
Did you?
What's-
Oh,
Jeez.
yeah.
Mine is a lifetime.
Oh, well, he
You
got
deal with
lucky. He did that early on.
You deal with a lot of cheap people.
See, you cost me, my Xfinity bill every month is $400. And my, Sirius Radio, I just paid them $280.
That's for a year.
Yeah.
$288 and change.
So where am I going wrong here? I gotta call and start threatening.
Yeah, you do. You gotta negotiate.
You know what, you don't have the time to do it, but time is money, and that time I should be spending on myself.
That's right, you'll save $180, but it'll take you an hour to get it done.
Yeah.
So other items that are big items, for example, center school, the facility maintenance line item. We, last year, our budget was 20, we increased it to 30. I'm wondering if we could go back to 20.
Last year, had the school was still paying, the Board of Education was paying some of it last year.
But what is facility maintenance? This is not the cleaning portion
49.
that I'm aware of. This is just facility maintenance. Is that labor? Is that,
It's everything to keep that building from falling into disrepair, from the cleaning, I believe the garbage is in there. To fixing toilets, the big thing this week was fixing steam traps and valves on the steam boiler, once we had the analysis done on that. But trying to find somebody to work on steam is difficult.
We using any of the ARPA money that was down here for any of that maintenance?
Not yet, we're making certain that, everything else is, before we invest more money into the building, that what we have is fixable.
yeah, don't invest any money until we know, because I'm not gonna, me personally, the money stops at ARPA.
And that's where I say,
Yeah,
I wasn't over there doing it, I was in a 15-minute debriefing meeting after it was all over.
because if that school costs another $6 to $8 million, I'll let it fall apart, and that was $2 million wasted of ARPA dollars.
What did you wanna go down to?
I was just saying reduce it 10,000 back to the 20,000 that we had, the prior year. But, you know, if Jim is saying that,
Oh, it doesn't, I have, $10,000 is either gonna be, $20,000 is either gonna be more than enough money, or it's gonna be a drop in the bucket.
yeah.
It's not gonna make
Well,
it.
then I'm gonna make a motion to reduce it down to $20,000 from $30,000.
Center school?
The center school facility maintenance.
We had talked about that.
I know, I crossed it
Yeah,
out.
me too, me too. I'll second that.
Okay, did somebody second him?
I,
We did. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Just gotta find the budget here.
Fred, I feel comfortable with that number, cause I see garbage is separate in there.
Okay. I know, again, if we're looking for big items, tree removal, contracted services,
Tree removal,
yeah.
let me tell you.
I know we could spend every single dollar.
Every single dollar,
Two pages for the
and multiply it
51.
times 3.
No, I understand that.
We fought to get that up there, that used to be $50,000.
No, I get that, but last year was 200, and the request was for 250. We lowered it to 225.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we lower it 25 to go back to the 200. We could spend 200, we could spend $1 million.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, as
Well,
far as
he contracts out, so,
contracted services, tree removal,
yeah, he contracts out, it's, he
225?
contracts only the local
Yeah.
guys too. Oxford guys.
yeah, no, I get that, but
You
it-
reduce that?
I think
See,
we-
it's either, look, either take the trees down that are, or we get the public works out in the middle of the night paying overtime to get the trees off the road. It's your choice.
we had reduced that,
How
right?
did you have this?
We didn't?
50.
Oh, okay,
It
my
was over
mistake.
50.
Okay.
What do you got?
Oh, wait, no, I was looking at your columns badly. No,
We did
you
two-
was, the one that you emailed us today, you were suggesting to 225. I messed up, forget that.
It's at 250.
Yeah, I was
Okay.
looking at it crazy.
So I'm just wondering if we could bring it to 225 or 200, if what people, or
Trees
150.
need to be carefully
No.
maintained.
I don't know, I'm just
Here's the
saying.
thing, like I say, Public Works gets called out, I don't know how many times, their big call out is at night with the wind, and we've had a lot of wind, okay? The tree's out in the middle of the road, first they spend all that time waiting for UI to get there, I mean, Eversource to get there, to shut the power off, and then they gotta get, and take the trees out.
But we've
And
had,
the rest of these are contracted services.
yeah, but we've had 200 for the last 3 years.
Yeah,
Before that, we had 125. So I'm gonna make the motion to reduce, that tree, contracted services tree removal from $250,000 back to $200,000, which was the same amount that we had last year.
I second.
On tree removal, the full 200.
that's it, he spent to his budget,
Yeah.
that's what he did,
Of course.
contracted.
I spent about
But could he spend more?
$400,000.
Of
Not
course.
definitely.
I just,
I gotta say, this, we always fought. to
Well,
get
this
it
is
to
why we're
200.
discussing.
yeah, I just think it's something that, you think, well, we could, until the tree falls on you,
Yeah,
and it is very dangerous, so I'm gonna say no.
I'm gonna say no too.
well, we got, discussion, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor,
Aye.
opposed? Me, that's,
Opposed.
three.
Opposed.
Yeah,
You opposed that?
yes, I do.
Okay, so it doesn't pass.
Tie vote's a no vote.
That's a 3-3 tie.
Cause, that's one thing I wouldn't think, we fought like hell to get that to 200, remember? It used to be 50,000
35,000 at one time.
at one time, yeah.
What about, contracted services, flaggers under that same, they were 25,000 last year, the request was for 35,000, can we go back to the 25?
Well, it's either that or have the contractors pay the police, which is gonna cost more money. They hire, the contractors, if they could, if it's not a main road, they can go out and hire their own flaggers. And they're paying them, what are they paying them?
Probably minimum wage, some of the
Minimum wage.
benefits, maybe
How much
30
we paying
bucks
the
an
cops?
hour. 100 and, about my billing for the cops.
Yeah.
Because I put the car in there and everything else. $122.19 an hour.
22.19 an hour.
Is this the same thing where whatever money's in there is gonna be spent no matter how much we put in there?
Every year, if he has money left in flaggers, he comes back and or in pruning and puts transfer in on June 30th.
The pruning is something they picked up doing. Yeah. Well, you're saving dollars in the budget, but you really don't save.
Well, we're just getting over the emerald ash borer with the ash trees, and now we're getting into the beech trees.
Is that going to?
Well, they're all dead.
Oh,
It's
yeah?
a matter of how many are gonna come down, but now the beech trees have some type of bug that's coming in through the roots.
There's some about the maples in Vermont or up in that way too, the maple trees.
So is that your same opinion about tree pruning?
All three of those are used together.
Okay. What about, so back to town hall, SB Church, postage, was at 10,000 last year, they are asking for 12,000 this year. Can we reduce that back to 10,000? Cause I don't know what town hall is mailing out for, you know, $1,000 a month essentially.
You know, $1,000 a month, you got 20 work days, that's $50 a day in
Yeah.
postage.
Oh, I don't know what's being sent out is what my point.
Most of it's, the heavy expense or the certified letters that go out through, zoning.
So zoning doesn't pick that up?
No.
I'm still gonna make the recommendation to reduce the postage from $10,000, from $12,000 down to $10,000 in Town Hall, SB Church.
I'll second.
You should spend about $1,000 a month. You do.
In a 7-month period, I spent $6,200, so 900 and something a month.
So 10 wouldn't be enough?
I'll make do. We're
It would
good.
be close.
Yeah.
I mean, if you truly
Yeah,
believe the 12 is fine.
$2,000 could be the matter of, is the postage meter on 0 on July 1, or is there a $1,000 balance in it?
Yeah.
It's,
Listen, if you feel the 12,000 is necessary, I'll rescind my motion.
if I have something I have to really argue with you about, I'll let you know.
Okay, then my motion stands.
You second it.
Yeah.
This one is close, whether you spend the money or not, that it should belongs in the budget. $2,000 isn't gonna move that mill rate an iota.
No, but when you do all these little individual line items,
It's
it
gonna
does
be
add
good.
up.
This is the one we probably will spend to it. Okay, so what are we
So
doing?
vote no.
We're fooling ourselves.
Yeah.
You know, if I said, there's no chance we're gonna spend that kind of money, I'm with you 100%. But on this case, there's a good chance we'll spend that money. So we're only fooling ourselves.
Okay. Well,
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Oh, I'm opposed.
I don't think it matters
I
either
don't,
way.
yeah.
$2,000, yeah.
What was the vote?
I don't know. I didn't hear everybody.
I'm no. You're yes. Vicky, what'd you say?
Yes.
You said yes.
Yes.
So it passed.
I'll say yes.
4 to
I
2.
don't think it
So it
matters,
passes.
yes or no,
Yes.
because the $2,000.
Doesn't matter, I just don't want us to fool ourselves. Start putting numbers in here, and we know we're gonna spend more than that number.
Comes out to be about 30 cents a house in town.
Yeah,
Half a letter per house.
We could rationalize every line item in this
No,
budget. No, I'm just saying
I'm
though.
just trying
We're
to
not hitting-
make myself
we're
laugh.
not
Yeah.
hitting where the numbers are. Okay, we're not hitting where the real numbers are.
No, but again, if we're asking people to tighten up because of,
It's difficult for us to do the tightening.
That's what I mean.
We don't know, so.
that was my point when we started this.
maybe
Tell them
we
this is
can
your
do
budget.
10% cut for everybody.
This is, the thing is, we start off and then everybody says, we don't wanna go back through line by line. We did to a degree, okay? Now, we're looking for money again, so what are we doing? We're in there line by line. That happens all the time.
Yeah, but we're being forced to, is my point.
Why?
Because we could have taken the approach where we said, your budget is going to be $100,000. Now you tell us how you're gonna allocate that $100,000 in your line items, and then we adopt that into our budget. They're the ones who know how to allocate their money, not us. That's the problem that I'm having, is
Well, they're-
I'm guessing.
They're allocating by giving us their budget. They're allocating it. They're saying where they need
Yeah.
it.
But they're-
And the first thing that's in it, first thing in that is salaries and benefits.
We know that.
There's your 70% right there.
But
Salary and benefits.
Yeah.
There's 70%. You don't wanna touch the 70%. Start taking the tree surgeon down, take the rest of them down.
Yeah.
Be my guest, but you're fooling yourself.
listen, that's up to them to determine. This is the problem with me going through this budget, because I'll take every line item
You
down.
think that they would cut a salary? You think
No,
that they would cut
no, but they're gonna allocate the rest of their money.
You think they're gonna cut a benefit?
It doesn't make a difference. They're gonna allocate their money how they see fit. I'm guessing. So, that's my point.
Well, the whole thing's guessing. I mean, the people that got the departments, they're guessing on what they're gonna do. They're gonna say, how much material am I gonna buy in public works? How many guys do I need, right? They make an estimate. A budget's always an estimate.
Sure.
It's always an estimate. That's all it is,
Yeah.
okay? All right, so they're gonna estimate what
But
they
as
need.
department heads, they should have a better handle on their budget than Brett does,
Then-
because I'm not involved.
Then they gotta
the
come in with the
budget.
cost, okay, and they don't know the cost of it.
That's what every single operations manager does in the world. They understand their budgets and they allocate their dollars as they see fit.
They gotta.
Not an outsider doing it.
Yeah, of course, they don't want an outsider.
Well,
We are outsiders here.
Yeah.
That's the law of who does the budgeting. Who would you want?
them,
Them? How you gonna put the whole thing to?
I just told you, Mr. Department Head, your budget's $100,000. You allocate the dollars how you see fit. And then tell us what your budget is, and we're gonna input those numbers into the individual line items. And now we're going to send that out to be adopted.
It could work, it can't work, but I know who right away is not gonna work. I know it right away.
Then maybe it doesn't work for them, and maybe then that person,
what I
whoever
mean?
that is, needs to find another job.
You go to some certain departments, the guys are good at what they do, but they're not good at some of this stuff.
That's not our issue, that's their issue. That's my position. I mean,
I mean, touch some of the big stuff.
well, you told me not to touch people.
I just touch the big stuff. You see,
Like the
you'll see.
roads?
See, everybody's in favor of the big stuff, but nobody wants to mention it. We'll dance around
Well,
it.
the big stuff is
Yeah.
salaries, positions, cutting them
Departments,
to half-time,
take a department out.
so we could take out benefits.
Yeah.
And Brett did look at some of those.
Yeah, well,
And-
we said we don't wanna talk about that.
But that's the biggest savings.
Yeah,
What's that?
taking certain
Departments
department,
Yeah.
We can't touch
positions.
Positions,
You can't touch the budget, can't touch the benefits, it's union. We can't touch the salaries, they're union.
But if it's a new position, we can.
If it's a new position,
Correct.
we
And
could,
there's some positions in here that went from full-time to part-time, which means they're new positions.
Yeah. that's right,
Full-time, part-time?
yeah.
Town clerk's office.
Oh, okay.
that's.
So
that-
who's to say that, I'm just saying this, who's to say that you need 4 people in there, that 4 people can still work in there, but instead of working 19 hours, they can work 10 hours. So either you got, instead of being a 3rd person in there, full-time, you have 3 people in there and 1 extra person half a day. You don't need a 3rd person there all day. You can have 1 person in there for half a day. Those part-time folks are gonna be making as much as or more than the 2 full-time people. Is that fair to the full-time
That doesn't
people?
even make sense.
Well, then,
That's not a
Make the
new
motion.
position, that was a position that was cut,
make the motion.
because the salary should not be done.
No, but they're
Salary
retiring.
could be, you could eliminate the person.
I'm not proposing eliminating anybody.
But the 4 people in the town clerk's office, the way I understood it, okay, one's working part-time till
For training.
maybe 6 months, a year, max.
It's indefinite.
There's 2 of them that are retiring.
Yeah,
They're going from full-time to part-time.
for how long?
They're calculated at 19 hours a week for the full year.
And that's it.
Yes.
then they're down to two.
Until next
Then
year.
they're down to two, and when they leave, then they'll hire a third, because those two will be trained.
It's the third one that is very questionable. We've been questioning that for years, the third one in there. That's the question.
Two of them going part-time for a year.
They have to
That's what they
retire.
requested.
And
So my
we
point-
did ask for a transition, right, because the other two people that are in there are not certified yet. So we did, last year when we were talking about this, we did talk to the departments that knew that they were gonna have retirements to have a succession plan, and this is,
We did, but
This is
do
their
we
succession.
need a year?
I'm not the one to answer that.
I don't know, that seems like a
It
long
seems like a
time
really- I would
for a
think 6
transition.
months.
Me too.
It's typically a
So,
transition.
Again, that was put in like a given. Okay, like a given. I don't know who put that in.
Margaret,
She did.
So my point is that you're gonna have two full-time people in there, okay, the two new people.
To be trained.
Well, let's pretend that they ran in an election and, they won, and the ones who are there now lost. Guess what, it's cold turkey,
Oh, yeah.
it's cold turkey. But what you're saying now is,
Except they're employees, so they're not treated as elected people.
no, well,
only one.
no, well, the town clerk is, but the town clerk then hires the people with her, or that person. So if a new person ran and won, then they only have 2 months essentially of working with that person. And then they hire a brand new person, so those two new people could be potentially brand spanking new. Now, you're gonna have two new people, you're gonna have two people who've been there for over a year essentially. And you're also picking up two half-time people. I'm not saying get rid of either one of them. I'm saying you can reduce the hours from 19 hours to 10 hours each. So instead of them one third person being in there all day, one person
Making it a part-time
can be
position and
half a day.
Question is, who's gonna enforce that? We can't enforce that.
No, but we can,
The
but,
best way to enforce it, the
but
best
we
way,
can-
Cut a position.
the best way to enforce it, and you're right about cold turkey, because let's say first selectman got, changed, I'm not saying, but let's just say it did happen. He doesn't get any training, he walks right in there and that's it, he's in there cold turkey, just like, these jobs.
no, and my point is that, you know, as an example, the request was 50,400 for one of the part-time positions and 40,000 for the other time. I'm saying, and I did the calculations based on hourly rate times 10 hours times 52 weeks.
They won't pay attention. They won't.
Okay, but
Pull one of the.
I'm not pulling one of the positions. I'm saying,
Why not?
because I'm not gonna make a decision, who's gonna be in there or who's not. I'm just saying, if you want two people, cut it back to 10 hours a week, 2 hours, 10 hours a week, instead of the 19 hours a week, and you save $48,000. So, or no, you save $45,000. So instead of it costing you, 90,000, it's gonna cost you 48,000. Like, one person in there for half a day, that's a part-time, is all that's needed. A part-time person doesn't need in there a full day. You don't need,
I agree.
that I'm aware of.
I agree with you, but if we cut it to that, and we don't enforce it, they're gonna they'll go over that budget and they'll transfer it from another line. It's exactly what'll happen, I'll tell you that,
Okay, well,
I'm just telling you, so I'm just
They're
saying,
transferring it
me-
from another line.
I would rather take as much money out for a position and say, here, you got one less position. I think,
but that's not my only, I was an example, that's not the only department that I'm looking at, because the police are taking their person from part-time to full-time. Is that needed? Do we have 2 receptionists in town hall? Do we need 2 receptionists? So, I think,
we took
We
them out.
tried that before.
We took them both out.
I
Guess what, we
understand,
took them both out, they came in, and they're both sitting in.
yeah. So do we just throw up our hands and say, oh,
No, but I would take this one, I would cut the money. Town clerk, I'd take the money out.
Well, I wouldn't be making that motion, I'd be making a motion to reduce those two line items, I wouldn't be making a reduction to take it out entirely.
Who approves those, the halftime positions? Like, you know, you can't just say, we're gonna come back and we're, you know,
I don't know. All I know is I got the budget from, the town clerk, with those numbers in there. What discussions took place behind the scenes or before, I don't know.
And the same thing like with the secretary and the police department, who's to say who approves going from part-time to full-time? Cause that's a considerable jump in pay,
That's not still in there, is it?
from 8,500 to 65,000. Wages clerical?
I thought you'd cut that out already.
No, I don't think so. Did we?
What is in the police department?
Police department, wages clerical?
You cut something in there.
If
No,
I'm,
You're right, it's still in there.
yeah.
Where is it?
And again, the reason I'm suggesting this is if we're looking at a large increase in budget, you know, is it the right time to take these from part-time to full-time, or, you know, or the opposite, in certain departments?
On the police department one, I would look at, they have a budget this year of 8,500, and through January, they only spent 2,149. So they're not using all the hours that are allocated this year.
Yeah.
Our total increase this year is 2.5 million. Okay, which is 4.5%. That's our total increase,
Is that with,
everything.
everything, yeah?
Total, that's it. That's our total increase.
Right now.
Without these changes we're making to revenue, but revenue is just going to slide the taxpayer line down. All those increases, okay? So that's gonna go, our expenses are still gonna stay about 4%, 4.5. But I agree with you on the clerk's office, and I also agree with, instead of doing the town clerk's office, let's just lower the payroll. You wanna make a cut there, otherwise we're just talking, we're not cutting anything. I told my wife this will be home, this will only be 5 minutes.
Thanks to Brett,
See?
you're not.
yeah.
Look at, I even got my grocery bags, and I go grocery shopping.
You could leave if you want, we'll run the meeting without you.
Wait, you're the guy that wanted to, you made the comment about don't use your staplers as much so you can save money.
No, it's just an example.
So,
I mean, what do other people think?
town clerk's office, okay? Let me get back to it. The police department, hold that one.
What is this?
Total wages, 184,000. Is any way to reduce that 184 without actually taking a line out?
Which
department
you looking at?
Town clerk,
Where's the 184?
this is total wages. 184, 321.
Oh, yeah, okay, got it. I was looking at the
Mhm.
benefits. So what do you wanna do? Reduce that?
Enough said. I got a question, Jim.
Yes.
Who's getting benefits in that town clerk's office? With the tough, part-timers aren't, right? The 126 seems kinda high.
I think Margaret already gets lifetime benefits after she retires.
Yeah, but it won't be in
Not,
there.
not on this, it's someplace else.
Okay, we got FICA for 14,000, workers' comp, life insurance, pension. There's two medicals,
Two medical?
two family medicals.
Okay, there's 80.
Yep.
Okay, got it.
Pension,
I thought it was part.
okay.
So the two part-timers,
What's happened is we've gone, before in that department, you had somebody who was getting payment in lieu of benefits, somebody else that was a husband, wife now.
yeah,
That's the problem with, and I'm not saying it's a problem, that's the issue with putting it by department, that you can have a huge increase because somebody goes from being single to family in 1 year. You
yeah.
go from 12,000 to 40,000.
So, got $184,000 payroll right there. Town clerk. You do have the part-timer in there, you got the assistant part-time. And you got this assistant, you got 42. I'm assuming. So shouldn't the two part-timers, if they're getting what, an hour, times 19,
I did my math based on 10 hours.
we got,
Well, the 5427, I rounded it to a flat 27,000.
okay,
And the 39,688, I rounded it to 21,000.
okay.
And that's based on simply taking those total dollars, dividing it by 52 weeks times 19
So
hours.
19 hours, so you got your two part-timers,
Yeah.
but it's not
But
reflected.
but then
It's a lot more.
multiplying that by 52 weeks times 10 hours. So I use the same hourly rate times 10 hours a week over 52 weeks. So basically cutting their hours back from 19 to 10.
Question is, how do we reflect that without touching the salary line?
What do you mean? The wages part-times are new line items. Those are new line items.
Okay,
And we've said during these discussions that if it's a new line item, we have the ability to,
because it's not there. We're not touching the
Technically, it
person.
should have stayed in the town clerk, it should have been decreased, because it's the same person at the same rate.
I'm sorry,
The town clerk line
yeah,
should have stayed with the salary at the same rate, just reduction of the hours. But since they changed it to a new position, it's a new position.
what do you think, Rick?
Well, again, can we reduce salaries, or do we have to eliminate the new position?
Well, I'm sure that, he's right, it's a new person. That's a new deal, that's a new
What about
deal
new-
coming in.
New position.
So can we reduce the salary of a new position, or?
Yes.
Or do we have to eliminate the position?
We could either or.
Either or, okay,
and I'm not looking to reduce, to eliminate them.
I see, yeah.
No, as long as they're new people, we can drop that number.
And those two are new.
They're new.
So
They're not new people.
They're new,
They're not
New
hiring
job.
people, new job,
new jobs. Well,
job line.
They're not staying at the same rate, right?
Well, they are.
They are.
Oh, they're staying at the same rate?
That's what I'm
Hourly
saying,
rate.
it should have stayed
Oh,
in the
yeah,
right
there you go.
line item.
I'm sorry, I thought you dropping down to the part-time rate.
No,
that's
no,
the
the
point.
I kept the hourly rate the same,
Okay, all right. you're
but from 19, but the 19 hours
right. Mhm.
down to 10 hours. That's what my suggestion was.
And what does that number save?
Um, $42,000
Out of the.
out of the
Out of the
part times, out of the 90,000.
89,000.
Yeah, 89,000, 90,000. It
Right.
goes to 48,000.
So why don't you make a motion to reduce it?
I'll make that motion to reduce the part-time clerk and the assistant part-time clerk from 50,427 to 27,000, and the 39,688 to 21,000. Based on essentially a reduction in hours from 19 hours, to 10 hours.
And the associate benefit reductions.
And whatever the associated, well, do they get benefits at that
FICA,
time?
FICA.
Payroll,
Okay.
payroll tax.
And whatever the associated benefit reductions are.
So the 39,688 went to,
21,000. And this is based on Brett's math.
okay,
And the 50,427 to 27,000. Not changing the hourly rates, just reducing the hours from 19 to 10.
Jim, should we, talk about this later with, today, with, down the road here?
If you want me to withdraw it, I will.
No,
No, I think we should talk about it at a later time, because otherwise it could be a fictitious cut.
I think so. So let's just,
Or reduce the time.
let's table your motion.
Okay,
Okay, let's table it. Okay, and we'll come back to it.
okay.
We'll
But
try
that's
to-
not the only one though.
Okay,
that
we'll
I
try to,
would-
we'll try to do this. Now, go right to the police department.
Do we have to vote to table, or?
Yeah, we have to vote to table it. Okay. Anybody, all in favor?
To table it?
To table the motion, yes.
Sure,
I,
Okay,
okay.
passes, okay.
I-
So this is tabled.
We're gonna table that one.
who made the motion?
I made the motion.
We're gonna table this, we're gonna go do a little homework on this thing and come back. Right?
I'll
'Cause otherwise, we're just throwing numbers around.
Okay.
Now, the police department, again, okay, the clerical there, that's a part-time or two, full-time. Okay, and remember, a full-time is just not only salary. That full-time could bring that whole benefit package with them.
Another 40,000 could be in
This brand new person,
It's a brand new position.
they're in a new position.
Police, clerical.
There's currently a
35.
part-timer working in that department. But the person works here at the town hall 4 days a week and works 1 day down there.
So they wanna hire that person full-time.
I have no clue.
Hold on, didn't you? I might have a note on that.
I think from what I recall, that person was gonna help with fingerprinting, and some other stuff, but how much actual work is there, you know, for a full-time, receptionist at the police department?
Where do they currently, they work most of the time where?
In Conservation Commission.
So this would be a 4-day-a-week job? Not a 5-day-a-week job.
We're at the police station?
Police station, yeah.
I would expect it to be a full-time position, 5 days a week. No?
Don't know.
I don't know, I think, gonna come under the old rules with the 4 days, like I say, here on a Thursday, don't step in that parking lot.
But I look at the police department as being outside town hall, so.
They are,
So, I
okay,
mean,
but she's not a policeman, she's just a clerk.
but if you're hired full-time into the police department, I would expect you to be at the police department. You just don't need to do
Well, then you-
clerical work on Monday through Thursday.
Yeah, you'd have to adjust again, you'd have to adjust to work that extra day, I would assume, I don't know, it gets crazy. So, with the 65, or with that back to part-time, or?
I have no idea.
Just a question, then, is that in person paid in 2 lines? Is some of that,
Right now, they're paid in 2 lines.
Yes.
If you look at the clerical in the Conservation Department and add to it the Police Department, clerical part-time. 4 days in Conservation, 1 day in Police.
Leads the question, did we allow for that in conservation?
I'm sure it'd be different people, I don't know.
No, but did we?
No.
We still budgeted that position,
Yes.
okay.
So what would the number be for part-time?
85.
that one of those positions where you'd have to increase it by 2.5%?
Yes, it'd be 8,500 times 1.025. $87.13.
For discussion purposes, I'll make that motion to change the, wages clerical, from 65,000, back to the, to $8,713, which reflects a 2.5% increase, over
Just
the
round it
500.
8,700,
What's that?
just round it. 8,700,
Well, do we wanna be precise, or do we wanna?
$13?
I'm keeping it, I'm keeping it
Usually
87,
on budgets, you.
I'm keeping it
yours-
87.13.
Okay. Okay, we'll let the 13. Usually in budgets, usually goes with the big number. Doesn't carry like the other one.
And the associated reduction in benefits.
Yeah.
Just so you know, when that position, I did not include anything in there for medical or for pension.
Okay.
So payroll taxes will go down, but not the other stuff.
Who's the second?
I'll second.
Further discussion, anybody? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And then the only other one, again, we brought it up last time, was do we need 2 receptionists in town hall versus 1?
The calculation on this, the town hall's open 40 hours a week and they both work 19 and a half hours a week.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes.
If you need a receptionist every day. Cause I don't know what they do.
Look, I fought that fight before and I lost.
You lost, but you won because they also had the floaters, and the floaters.
That's right. Okay, so here, what are we gonna do with the $550,000 that's sitting in capital? You want us to wait to see if the, education department can give us a realistic number? Or you just wanna scrap the whole thing and use, either take it out, so you would pick up an extra $550,000? Or,
Well, I don't wanna scrap the whole thing because I think the network upgrade is necessary.
yeah,
It's just a matter of, is it 300, 350, or
Yeah.
540? But, I mean.
we're gonna have to wait till Monday to get that
Well,
answer,
Yeah,
If we're meeting again on Tuesday, then.
yeah.
because we have to sort of finalize it
We
before,
gotta
before our
get, we gotta
public
get
hearing.
final, yeah, gotta get final. Let's see. Jim says if I come near his office right now, it's over for me.
What's it?
I says, if I come near your office now, there's a bomb set in front of those doors.
No, Benji comes to my, near my office from FEMA. I'm going.
Okay, so,
And I'm assuming we're keeping the $750,000 in the roads?
well, that stays. I'm telling you, the roads stay.
Okay,
That-
I'm just asking.
That is gold. You take those out, and you look at your roads in Oxford, go down, take a ride around other towns, I won't mention their towns, and you'll see. And when the referendum, that's the top vote again.
It is.
Above town hall, above education, everything.
I'll just, I won't bring it up again after tonight, because it seems it's not, no one's interested in it, but if we're taking stuff from everywhere, if we're taking stuff from Board of Ed, if we're taking stuff from the town hall, that's the third question. And, I mean,
Ask Jim, the 750.
but like, could we live a year if we brought it down 50 or 100,000, right? Like, they're gonna spend whatever we give them, and if we're already cutting the other 2 questions on the ballot,
It'll take you 10 years to make up for the 1 year you miss.
Because what'll happen, once you slide it, okay, and other people say, well, we cut it, like, we cut it, then you're done. Like, there's certain roads he's gotta get, he wants to do Moose Hill again, he wants to do, he's got, He's got a whole program.
I know he's gonna be doing, I
Huh?
see the catch basins back here in the parking lot.
Yeah.
So I assume they're doing this parking lot.
So did that change the mill rate at all from 2013?
Yes, 20.08.
2020-08.
20.08.
I'll have to compare with you at 20.09.
Oh, it's probably right.
Yeah.
Okay,
And what are the two increases then? Town and Board of Ed?
Yeah, we'll have to compare. I'll send you the file because I could have put some of the ones I might have put it in when you were making motions and then it didn't
Okay.
pass.
Okay.
And I'm doing retiree seminars all day tomorrow.
Well, if you just email it to me, I'll look at it.
Do you have the increases for what the Board of Ed then is and what the town side, like what the increases would be?
That's what you're asking. Yeah.
okay, we gotta find out. Police, the clerk, on that again.
So the Board
Town
of,
clerk, okay, and BOE with Howard, okay, those are the big, we can get those settled, you know, we can take them out. We don't have the ability to.
If you can give me, he was very, very agreeable to me.
Oh, yeah?
So just
Okay,
let me,
good.
give me some dates and I'll try and set it up.
Okay, all right. This is, like I say, the big key is with Howard. If we could get the 550 done, the 550 is still in play. It's in that budget. It could, that whole thing could come out if you so decide.
so right now, the municipal budget increase is 5.87%, and education is 3.4%. Overall, 4.27.
How much?
27.
What's the grand total overall dollar-wise?
What do you have?
59,637, 573.
Yeah, and I got 59,616,
Okay,
so we have
so-
something.
so-
left in there.
So we're still about 4.5%.
Well,
increase.
I think I reduced the police.
Yeah, I did.
Maybe it was like $13.
I don't know, maybe. We'll figure it out.
What's the total revenue? Grand
Mhm.
total?
You were saying there's
59?
Yeah.
Well, 59, but we put in,
59?
my numbers don't have what I put in. The $700,000.
I have 59,616,188. Brett has a number slightly different from that. So one of us
Oh,
put,
all right,
one of us put in a
Because
motion.
you're
to pass.
you're knocking down the top line, okay,
Correct.
okay, I just gotta get the other numbers in there.
Before I forget, when, because I have to put the legal notice in the paper tomorrow for the,
Cancel tomorrow.
no, for, the public hearing. I have to get it in for Friday for the
We'll
public
take the
hearing.
same date you got on the schedule you gave
But
us.
what about, when are we meeting next week? Is it on Tuesday or Wednesday? Because Tuesday's the 15th,
I know,
and I know what April 15th is for you.
it's not, every day is April 15th, it's been that way for the last month.
I just have to post the agenda tomorrow.
So the meeting on the 15th?
I don't know, so I'm
I
asking.
don't know if I'm available.
Well, we gotta do it, gotta do it.
I mean, I can post it as late as Monday.
Well, why don't you just post an agenda for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and then let's just cancel
Monday,
one.
Tuesday, okay.
Well,
And we'll just pick which night works best.
well, you're no good for Wednesday, right? Next Wednesday?
No,
No,
tomorrow I can.
Tomorrow, okay.
Next week I think I'm fine all 3 days.
Yeah, I can't do Wednesday of next week, the 16th.
Okay, let's do it Wednesday next week.
Oh, there you go.
I'll make whatever night works.
Okay. We gotta get back the answers on that other stuff, okay? But think about the 550. What if they say, no way, we need the whole 550? What? What do you think? What do you think?
if that's what it's gonna cost, I think we need to do the network.
You think so for 550?
I don't know what it costs.
Well, right, that's their proposal.
It's something that's necessary.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a nice to have.
What do you think?
I agree.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I thought, sorry.
Oh, no, I agree. I don't know how much it costs, but they need to upgrade the network.
I mean, in here somewhere, they put the end of life on for each of the programs, like I think,
that was like the number one critical item that
That's
we
it.
talked
Yeah.
about.
I don't
Yeah,
know if we can
the
get
two
away with it.
generators were the next ones.
Yeah,
Two generators, I know they can get a better price on those generators, but let's not put them in this year.
I mean, the problem with technology is it changes so fast and it's already at end of life. It's probably beyond its end of life.
Maybe
And
he could
like
get
I
a better
said,
deal.
Huh?
Maybe he could get a better deal.
So let me find out Monday from Howard, I'll push him real quick. And Mike's down there too, I just, you know, I just connect.
They're on spring break next week, so
Huh?
they're on spring break next week, so they
They're on
might not
spring
be,
break next week?
he might not be available.
Howard's out too in spring break?
Howard will be around.
He'll be around? Cause he's out till, till Monday.
Might go,
Hmm?
maybe Mike be on this week.
Yeah, I can call tomorrow. So, let's look at Tuesday and Wednesday next week, that's all.
Victor can't make Wednesday, so.
They can't.
Monday, Tuesday, or just?
Monday and Tuesday. Don't forget to cancel tomorrow. Basically, from what I understand, if I walk outside there and put it in that bulletin board that the meeting's canceled, that's as good as putting it in the paper. I didn't know that.
yeah, posting just needs to be where you conduct your,
Yeah, it's-
business.
I didn't know that. We didn't, you know, if you ever get really late, get a thumbtack.
So we are gonna meet on Monday?
I would wanna go to FOI on that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna post them and then we'll decide afterwards.
Monday, Tuesday, he said.
But we don't know about whether Monday's gonna happen.
Right.
So then we'll get an email or something to say Monday's on or off.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
Yeah.
Fred, if you wanna hang out for 2 minutes after the, we go through
Yeah.
department totals, like public safety, and we can narrow
Yeah,
it down.
that's all I
quick.
do, is I just take yours and I just go like this, and what matches with us, and I figure it out.
We don't even have to do department by department, do 10 categories.
That's
but-
fine.
Yes. Well, at the very end, you post the, this is what we post now, instead of the whole thing
Right. But Brett and I are off by about $30,000 tonight.
tonight?
Yeah, he might have missed something, or I might have changed something.
Where motions are being made, then withdrawn, and then changed,
Yeah,
Okay. The 24-25 budget came in at an increase in grand total. The grand total was $2,280,000. It was 4.2%. This year, this is before all these changes, it's at 4.5, and I guarantee you, with the changes we put through, it'll be 4.2. We're exactly last year. Exactly. And by doing it last year, we didn't borrow any surplus to cover our budget, okay? Which, believe me, you can ask Jim, the investors love that. You know, there's a lot of towns, like, you take Norwalk, Milford, those guys say anybody touches that surplus to cover their expenses is crazy.
but they handle it the other way by overinflating revenues. So then, they're not touching surplus, but they put in
Sure.
$2 million for fund balance and, or for, investment income, knowing they physically can't make it.
It's gonna wind up as a deficit.
Right.
Except the school board, by law, they're supposed to not have a deficit. But that's crazy, we're coming right into the same thing as last year, almost to the T. 4.2, it's 4.5, but we're gonna take those out, it's gonna be the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
So all we had to do was copy this, send it in, we're all set. Last year's. You don't need this, what you sent me today, Jim?
No.
That's all the changes?
No, I got it.
Okay. All right, anybody? For now, let's just say, plan for Tuesday, Tuesday the 15th.
Okay.
But he's gonna make it for Monday and Tuesday.
You can make it for Monday and Tuesday, but plan for,
Tuesday.
I don't know, tell me.
Tuesday?
To be normal. I don't know if I mean, I could get here at some point, but it would not be when.
Wanna use the, our helicopter? Jim, schedule the company.
I can give you the Learjet, but I can't give you the helicopter.
Oh, gee. Okay, do that motion to adjourn, right, good, all set, everybody?
Did we do it? Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Alright.